Springfield officials may soon crack down on kratom, banning sales of the herbal supplement in the city.
Western Mass News reporter Addie Patterson joining us live now from outside of City Hall with more details. Addie.
That's right, Chris and Amanda. City officials are considering treating kratom like tobacco and nicotine products. The matter was discussed during a Health and Human Services meeting earlier today. The proposed ordinance would potentially create stricter regulations for the sale of kratom within the city, like age verification and honest labeling to protect consumers. In the ordinance, Springfield businesses would no longer be allowed to make, sell, or distribute synthesized kratom, kratom extracts, or concentrated versions, contaminated kratom, kratom that's too strong or adulterated, kratom meant to be smoked or injected, kratom labeled or sold as food or beverages, kratom with added flavors or aromas, kratom with non-childproof packaging, and kratom that looks like candy or appeals to kids under the age of 21. The ordinance would require all stores selling kratom to test all products through a third-party lab, only sell to people 21 and over, and to keep the product behind the counter and not on open shelves. It would also require stores to label everything clearly with ingredients, active compound levels, serving size, and safe daily limits, manufacturing information, health warnings, and more. Local doctors speaking up during today's meeting, they say while cases are uncommon in our area with kratom, the cases they have seen due to the drug have been serious.
Kratom and the derivatives of it are opioids when used at higher doses. Not many people are showing up needing help, but when people have showed up needing help, they can be in rough shape. They become dependent on it. They try to stop it, they get very sick and go through pretty significant withdrawal.
No votes or final policy decisions were made during today's meeting, and the ordinance remains under discussion. For now, reporting live in Springfield, Addie Patterson, Western Mass News.